My name is Mara Callahan. And I learned something important over the years. The loudest voices in the room are rarely the most dangerous ones. The truly lethal people. They're the ones who've already proven themselves and have nothing left to say. I've been sheriff of Sagebrush County, Arizona for 5 years now. Population 3,200, give or take. Whoever's passing through on their way to somewhere more important. We've got one main street, 2 bars, a diner that makes the best green chili you'll ever taste. And enough desert silence to remind you that not everything worth doing makes noise. Most days. My job involves breaking up fights at the Cactus Rose Saloon, chasing off kids who think the old copper mine is a good place to party, and making sure Mrs. Henderson's goats stay off Highway 191. It's quiet work. Simple work. The kind of work that lets you sleep at night without ghosts climbing into bed beside you. But that was before James Hayward showed up. The morning he arrived, the temperature had already hit 95 degrees by 9 a.m. Heat shimmered off the asphalt like water, and the cicadas were screaming their endless summer song. I was in my office, boots up on the desk, going through incident reports from the weekend to noise complaints, one drunk and disorderly. Standard stuff when my deputy, Rosa Mendez, knocked on the doorframe. "Boss," she said, her voice carrying that particular tone that meant trouble I wasn't going to like. "We've got company." I looked up. Through the window, I could see a black SUV with government plates pulling into our tiny parking lot. Air conditioning probably blasting hard enough to freeze meat. 3 people climbed out, all wearing suits that cost more than my monthly salary. The man in front carried himself like he owned the ground he walked on. Federal. I asked. Rosa nodded. Department of Justice. Lead guy's a prosecutor named James Hayward. Apparently, it's here to assess and modernize rural law enforcement operations in underperforming counties. I dropped my boots to the floor. Underperforming. His words, not mine. I watched through the glass as Hayward straightened his tie, looked at our building like it was something that should have been condemned in 1987, and marched toward the entrance. Rosa gave me a look that said, "Good luck," and I stood up, rolling my shoulders like I was preparing for a fight I knew was coming. Hayward didn't knock. He walked into my office like he'd been invited, his 2 assistants flanking him with tablets and that particular brand of East Coast impatience that mistakes speed for efficiency. "Sheriff Callahan," he said, not bothering with a handshake. "James Hayward, Doge. I'll be conducting a comprehensive audit of your department over the next 72 hours. I nodded slowly. "Good morning to you too." He didn't smile. "This isn't a social call. Your county has the highest rate of unsolved cases in the state. Your clearance rate is 30% below the national average, and frankly, your methods appear to be stuck somewhere around 1995, Rosa." Standing in the doorway, clenched her jaw. I could feel her anger radiating across the room, but I kept my face neutral. "I dealt with worse than entitled bureaucrats. Is that right?" I said evenly. "That's documented fact." He pulled out a tablet, swiping through data like he was presenting evidence at trial. "When was the last time you digitized your records? Implemented body cameras? Updated your evidence management system? We managed just fine." Just fine isn't acceptable when federal funding is involved. He glanced around my office, the old wooden desk, the filing cabinets that had been here since before I was born, the faded map of the county on the wall. "I need access to all your case files, especially the cold cases." Something cold settled in my chest, but I kept my voice steady. "Most of our archives are in the basement." "You're welcome to look," he smirked. "I intend to." An hour later, I led Hayward and his team down the narrow staircase into the records room. The basement smelled like dust, old paper, and decades of stories nobody remembered anymore. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. "This is a disaster," Hayward muttered, staring at the rows of cardboard boxes and metal filing cabinets. "You don't even have climate control down here." "These records are degrading. They've lasted 50 years, I said. "They'll last 50 more." He shook his head, already pulling boxes off shelves. his assistants photographing everything like they were documenting a crime scene. I stood near the stairs, arms crossed, watching him tear through my department's history with the delicate touch of a wrecking ball. That's when he found it in the far corner. Under a tarp that had gone gray with age, sat a metal box about the size of a small suitcase. It was military-grade brushed steel with a combination lock on the front. And across the top, in faded red stencil, were the words, "Do not file classified material, authorization required." Hayward froze when he saw it. Then he laughed. "What the hell is this? Some kind of Cold War drama?" My throat went dry. "That's old evidence. From before my time, then it should be cataloged." He crouched down, running his fingers over the lock. "What's the combination?" "I don't know." He looked up at me, eyes narrowing. "You're the sheriff. You're telling me you don't have access to evidence in your own building?" I didn't answer. He stood, brushing dust off his hands. "Open it. It's classified by whose authority?" "Federa." "I am Federa," he snapped. "And I'm ordering you to open this box right now, or I'll have it removed as evidence of departmental obstruction." Rosa's voice came from the stairs. "Sheriff, you don't have to. It's fine," I said quietly. But it wasn't fine. My hands were steady as I knelt beside the box, but inside, my pulse hammered. I hadn't opened this box in 8 years. I'd buried it here intentionally, hoping I'd never have to see what was inside again. The combination came to me like muscle memory. Right 17? Left 33. Right 9. The lock clicked. Hayward leaned in, eager, arrogant, completely unaware that some doors should stay closed. I lifted the lid. Inside were things I'd worked very hard to forget. Documents with headers stamped top secret SCI no form. Satellite photos of desert compounds I'd helped turn to dust. After action reports written in the clipped, emotionless language of people who'd seen too much. And photographs. So many photographs. Me, 10 years younger, 20 pounds leaner, standing in full tactical gear beside men whose faces were blacked out for security. Me in a helicopter over mountains that officially didn't exist. Me shaking hands with a 4-star general whose name never appeared in public records. Hayward picked up one of the photos, his smirk fading. "This is you." I didn't respond. He dug deeper, pulling out a laminated ID card. Asterisk, Joint Special Operations Command. Callahan, Mara, J, Task Force Viper. Clearance, TSC. Asterisk. Asterisk, his hands started shaking. "You were." He looked up at me, confusion and something like fear crossing his face. "You were Special Operations." Rosa's voice from the stairs was barely a whisper. "Sheriff, you opened it." I stood slowly, every instinct I'd buried screaming at me to shut the box, lock it, walk away. But it was too late. Hayward was rifling through documents now, his assistants crowding around, tablets forgotten. Captain Callahan. Multiple deployments. Syria, Yemen, classified operations in YA. Trailed off, staring at a citation I'd never framed. "Jesus Christ. You were decorated." "That was a lot of things," I said quietly. He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "If you were this, why the hell are you here? In this nothing town playing small-time cop?" Before I could answer, the building shook. The explosion wasn't huge, but it was close. Dust rained from the ceiling, and somewhere above us, glass shattered. Rosa's radio crackled to life, voices shouting over each other. Shots fired, armed suspects in the building. "They're taking someone." Rosa drew her weapon, moving toward the stairs. I grabbed her arm. "Wait, Sheriff, we have to. They're not here for us." Hayward's face had gone white. "What?" I looked at him, and in that moment, something shifted. The quiet sheriff who'd let him walk all over her was gone. What remained was older, colder, and far more dangerous. "They're here for you," I said. Upstairs, we could hear shouting in Spanish, heavy boots, the methodical sweep of professionals. Through the basement windows small. High on the wall, I saw 2 men in tactical gear dragging Hayward's assistants toward a black van. Rosa raised her weapon. "We have to move." "No?" My voice cut through the chaos, sharp and certain. They've already counted heads. They know we're down here. If we rush them, they'll kill everyone. Hayward was hyperventilating. What do they want? You're a federal prosecutor, I said. You're worth millions in ransom. Maybe more in leverage? Oh God, shut up, I said, not unkindly. Then to Rosa, code red protocol. Lock down the building. Nobody in or out. Understand? She hesitated. What are you going to do? I reached into the box and pulled out something I'd sworn I'd never touch again. A satellite phone, matte black, encrypted, with a single red button on the side. Something I promised myself I wouldn't. I pressed the button. The connection took 3 seconds. A voice answered, rough and familiar. Unrecognized number. Identify. Viper 7, I said, the old call sign tasting like rust in my mouth. Callahan, Mara J, Serial Tango Fox, Trotnine 4-2. Silence. Then, holy shit. Viper 7. You've been dark for 8 years. Emergency reactivation. Hostage situation? Federal official kidnapped by cartel operatives. Possible terrorist links. Location? Sagebrush County, Arizona. Request immediate tactical support. Confirmed. QRF mobilizing. 90 minutes. Can you hold? I've held worse. Good to have you back, Captain. Not a captain anymore. Once Viper, always Viper. Stay alive. The line went dead. Hayward stared at me. What? What was that? Back up, I said. Then I looked at Rosa. You know the level 3 siege protocol? She nodded slowly. That's theoretical. We've never actually, today, we do it for real. I moved past her. Up the stairs into the chaos of my department turned battlefield. 5 miles away, in an abandoned ranch house that hadn't seen life in a decade. James Hayward's assistants were bound and gagged, thrown into a back room like cargo. Hayward himself sat in a metal chair, blood dripping from his split lip. Hands zip-tied behind his back. The man standing over him was tall, scarred, with the cold eyes of someone who'd killed before and would again. Miguel El Curvo Reyes, former Mexican Army, dishonorably discharged. Now running a brutal trafficking operation across the border. Your government will pay, El Curvo said in accented English. Millions for a prosecutor, maybe more for silence about what you know. Hayward was crying. Please, I don't know anything. Shut up, El Curvo backhanded him casually. The sheriff, she will come. The little woman who plays cop. We will kill her first so you understand we are serious. His second in command, a wiry man named Hector, stiffened. Boz? What's her name? The sheriff. Callahan. Mara Callahan? Why? Hector's face went pale. What does she look like? A woman. 40, maybe. Brown hair? Why does it matter? Because... Hector pulled out his phone, scrolling frantically through old photos. He stopped on one, showing it to El Curvo. Is this her? The photo showed a younger woman in full tactical gear, face smeared with desert dust, holding a rifle with the casual competence of someone born to it. Behind her mountains, sand, death. El Curvo studied it. Maybe? Hard to tell. Who is she? Hector's voice shook. If that's her, we just kidnapped a federal in the territory of Desert Viper. El Curvo laughed. The ghost. The American myth. That's propaganda. Asar boss. Training exercise 2014, San Luis Potosi. She trained our unit. She's real. And if she's the sheriff here, he didn't finish. El Curvo's smile faded. I didn't wait for the federal response team. 90 minutes was a lifetime in a hostage situation. And I'd learned long ago that sometimes the best cavalry is the one that arrives first. I went home, changed. When I came back out, I wasn't wearing the khaki uniform of a county sheriff anymore. I was wearing black tactical pants, a moisture-wicking shirt, a load-bearing vest I'd kept oiled and ready even though I swore I'd never need it. Boots that remembered the shape of my feet from 1,000 miles of bad terrain. No firearm yet. Didn't need one for the first part. Rosa stared when she saw me. "Sheriff, stay here," I said. "Coordinate with the feds when they arrive. Tell them Desert Viper is active and in the field." Desert Viper? I didn't answer. I was already moving. The desert at night is a different world. Temperature drops 40 degrees. Darkness so complete you can't see your own hands. But I had night vision goggles, military grade, stashed in my garage for reasons I'd never fully admitted to myself. I tracked them the way I'd tracked insurgents in Yemen. Tire marks in dust. Disturbed creosote bushes. Heat signatures fading in the cooling sand. They'd gone north toward the old mining country, thinking distance would save them. It wouldn't. I found the ranch house in 40 minutes. 2 guards outside, smoking cigarettes, AKs slung lazy over their shoulders. Cartel pattern, but with military discipline underneath. Whoever ran this crew had real training. I moved like wind through creosote. First guard went down with a pressure point strike to the carotid unconscious in 3 seconds. No permanent damage. Second guard turned, saw nothing. And then saw everything as I swept his legs and put him in a rear naked choke until his struggles stopped. Non-lethal. Always non-lethal when possible. I zip-tied them with their own restraints, gagged them and dragged them into the brush. Then I approached the house. Through a cracked window, I could see them. 5 men inside. Hayward tied to a chair, bleeding but alive. His assistants in the back room, and standing over him. A man I recognized from old intelligence photos. Miguel Reyes El Curvo. I keyed my radio, the encrypted one connected to the incoming federal team. "Rosa, 5 minutes. Block all exits north and east. Let them run south and west. That's where the feds will be waiting." "Copy, Sheriff." "Be safe." I smiled in the darkness. Safe was relative. I went in through the back window, silent as smoke. The first man to see me was Hector, El Curvo's second. He was pouring coffee when he glanced up and saw me standing in the doorway. The mug slipped from his hands, shattering on the concrete floor. "Vibra del desierto," he whispered. El Curvo turned, hand going to his weapon. "What?" I stepped into the light, unarmed, hands visible. "Miguel Reyes, you served with the 82nd Airborne Brigade. Mexican Army. I trained your unit in joint operations, San Luis Potosi. 2014. His eyes widened as memory and recognition collided. "No, you. You were the American." "I was?" "Captain Callahan. Call sign Desert Viper. And you just kidnapped a federal official in my jurisdiction." He laughed, but it was nervous, forced. "You have no weapon. We are 6. You are 1. I smiled, and it wasn't a kind expression. "I know. Bad odds. For you, what happened in the next 3 minutes was never fully detailed in the official reports. The federal team arrived to find all 6 men disarmed. Pit-tied with their own restraints, kneeling in the dirt with their hands behind their heads. Hayward was free, shaking but unharmed. His assistants were scared but safe. And I was sitting on the porch steps, drinking water from a canteen, like I'd just finished a light jog. Colonel Marcus Stone stepped out of the lead Humvee, took one look at the scene, and laughed. "Viper should have known. Just Sheriff Callahan now. Marcus, right?" He glanced at the prisoners. "They're going to cooperate. Already are. El Curvo has intel on 3 active cells operating along the border. Names, locations, supply routes. You'll want to move fast." Marcus shook his head. "You never lose the touch. Never had to use it. Until today." Hayward approached, limping, face bruised. I don't understand. How did you—" I cut him off gently. "You asked me earlier why I'm here. Why I chose this?" He nodded, unable to speak. I looked out at the desert, the mountains painted purple by the rising sun. Because after a decade of saving the world, I decided to save myself. And that meant peace, quiet. A life where I don't have to hurt people unless there's absolutely no other choice. "But you're so capable. So skilled. Being capable doesn't mean you have to prove it constantly, I said. I already proved it. To the people who mattered. Now I choose a different kind of strength. What kind? The kind that doesn't need an audience. He was quiet for a long time. Then, I'm sorry. For everything I said. For how I treated you. You didn't know? That was the point. 3 weeks later, Hayward returned to Washington. The audit was officially canceled. The report filed with a note that Sagebrush County's methods, while unconventional, were effective and appropriate for the operational environment. He sent me one email. Asterisk learned more in 3 days with you than 10 years in D.C. Thank you for saving my life. And I'm sorry I didn't see you. Asterisk. I archived it without responding. In the basement, the box was closed again, locked, pushed back into its dark corner. Rosa asked me once if I was going to keep it. Yes, I said. Why? Because that box holds who I was. This badge. I tapped the star on my chest, holds who I chose to become. And some choices are more powerful than any mission. She nodded, understanding in a way I appreciated that evening. I drove home as the sun melted into the desert horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. My dog, a 3-legged mutt named Copper, waited on the porch, tail wagging. Inside my house, there were no medals on the walls, no plaques commemorating classified victories, no photos of younger me in faraway deserts doing things the world would never know about, just books, a comfortable chair, a window that looked out on land so quiet you could hear your own heartbeat. I poured myself a whiskey, sat on the porch and watched the stars emerge one by one in the endless Arizona sky. Copper settled at my feet. Content. Somewhere out there, dangerous people were being stopped by loud, brave operators who needed the glory. And that was fine. They were doing important work. But here in this forgotten corner of the world, I'd found something they might never understand. I'd found the strength to walk away from the war. And in doing so, I'd won the only battle that ever really mattered, the one for my own peace. The phone in my pocket buzzed. A text from Rosa, asterisk, quiet night. Nothing to report. I smiled and typed back. Good. That's exactly how I like it. Asterisk above me, a hawk circled in the thermals, riding invisible currents with effortless grace. I watched it until it disappeared into the darkening sky, and thought about boxes that should stay closed and lives that should stay quiet, and the kind of courage it takes to choose silence. When the whole world is screaming for you to prove yourself, I'd proven enough. Now I was just Mara Callahan, sheriff of Sagebrush County, and that was more than enough. The desert wind rose, carrying the scent of sage and dust in coming rain. I closed my eyes, breathed deep, and let the silence hold me. Because some victories don't need witnesses, they just need to be lived.